It's way too hot. We are in the middle of a heat wave in Boston. We should not be having a heat wave. It is September. And it's not even just like a tiny heat wave. It's like August was so chill comparatively. And this is like 90 degrees, low of 72, high humidity. I'm dying right now. Absolutely dying. I almost forgot to film this, but that's for many reasons. Life is very chaotic. I do, in theory, have Tony under my futon over here. He's scared because he's in a new place because I'm watching him this weekend. But we'll see if he comes out during this video. We'll find out. And I'm not going to talk about everything I read this month because last week I posted my secret project of reading all of the Ursula K. Le Guin fiction nominations, which was a large portion of my reading for this month and a little bit of July, but I still have 9 books to talk to you guys about because apparently I was a reading machine in August. Could have fooled me, and there's no rhyme or reason to the order. I almost forgot to film this video. I want to get this video done. I don't have time tomorrow to film and edit it, so it's either now or never, so we're going into it. Starting with a book that I thought I had read eons ago, and that is Blood of Dragons by Robin Hobb. This is the last book in Rainwilds, and yeah, I think my 3-star rating stands from when I first finished it. It was fine. I think it was too long, and I think I was at that point just very underwhelmed by the payoff for how drawn out the series was. And I know that it had things to do with publishing or whatever. This is still the art that I got to consume, and it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. So it was 3 stars. Still love the buddy reads. Excited to maybe by the end of this year finish Realm of the Elderlings. That'll be wild. That's the thing I started in 2019, I think. So that'll be an experience, but not my least favorite thing I've read. I don't think this month. No, there's a book I definitely dislike significantly more. Like, I don't dislike Blood of Dragons. It's out of my brain. I don't have anything memorable to say about it. It was just fine, and I have pacing issues with that series that I've talked about ad nauseum. So we'll move on to The Raven and the Reindeer by T. Kingfisher. I read a lot of faves this month. Favorite authors actually reigned supreme, or at least tried and true, because things happened in August. Lots of things. Work things, housing things, pet things. Some of them my fault, some of them not. So comfort. We were looking for comfort. This was comfortable. This isn't my favorite T. Kingfisher by a long shot, but I really liked it. And it's classic T. Kingfisher, like fairy tale retelling T. Kingfisher. Here it is. Definitely has the inclusion of animal companions and their personalities. You have a character who's going on a journey of discovery, and they're subverting some fun tropes. I chuckled at the humor lines and at all the trappings you would expect. It didn't overstay its welcome because it's like 200 pages. I didn't know the source material for it, but there is an author note or an acknowledgement that talks about it a little bit, so that was interesting. So yeah, it delivered exactly what it needed to be at the time. I truly can trust anything T. Kingfisher writes. Moving on to, yes, this is my least favorite book of the month by a long shot, and that is The Cat Who Saved Books. I didn't like it. I would have DNF'd it if I didn't have to read it for my local book club. There's something weird about listening to an audiobook for a book that claims there are no audiobooks. Like, okay, I don't know. It felt very, you're not a reader unless you're the reader by my definition. And I didn't like that vibe. I didn't like that. The conversation was great, especially because some people really did love it and connect. Some people had similar feelings to me. I do think it's one of those things where, because on the bookish internet we go through those same 10 conversations over and over and over again, seeing those conversations in the book, but also the book not really interrogating them in a way that I thought made sense. Also, you're going to hear Puta in the background. We're just going to power on through. I don't know where I cut out that, but Ryan went to get the cat because he started yelling at the door. But anyways, Cat Who Saved Books. It was good for discussion because of that, but I do think because it wasn't really going deep into conversations, I was just very like, I didn't like it. It was very surface level at sometimes, and then when it wasn't surface level, it was very preachy in ways that I felt gatekeepery. I don't know. And then I'm sure, the translation doesn't make it, have the flow that it would in its original language, but all I could think was like, I would enjoy this more as a coming-of-age story in animation, and with the sweeping music. I probably would have liked it more than that. That said, it's so short, and I thought it was so long, and I was so annoyed that this is, I think, a 2.5 star for me. I don't know what number I put on the screen, but I did not enjoy it. And it's probably only a 2 or 2.5 because I liked the conversation that I had. Like, I didn't connect to the characters. The cat wasn't even, like, that amazing for me. It was fine. It was fine. It reminded me of when I read, what was the book that everyone's always talked about? It's The Alchemist or something, where it's just like, it didn't land for me. It wasn't this big experience for me, and I didn't get the hype. And this one, I don't get the hype, and I didn't like it. So, moving on to Lightbringer, a book that did really work for me. I do have a should you read for this series. This was also a month of many should you reads. But basically, this is maybe my favorite Red Rising book. I am not a big fan of Dark Age. It's my least favorite. I don't dislike Dark Age, but it's my least favorite. It's like a 3.5 star read for me. And Lightbringer is easily a 4.5 star. There were lots of amazing emotional payoff moments. There were really good highs. There were really good lows. It had a good blending of that. That's what I kind of like in the Red Rising books, is when you have big consequences, but also big triumphs. I like the combination there, and I am really excited for the next book. But I also feel like I'm in an okay resting point, which I appreciate, because I don't think I was in a cathartic resting point at the end of Dark Age, which is one of my complaints. So yeah, really liked that. I think we're still going to have the live show discussion. I don't know if it's this weekend or when. Schedules got a little weird around Labor Day, so we'll figure it out eventually, and we'll tell you when we know. That's how that's going to work. These two I'll talk about kind of together. I have a should you read for this series, and that is Cygnus Betiverse. So I read the Galaxy Game and the Blue Beautiful World. So I'll talk about each of them individually, a little more in depth of my experience, because should you read is kind of normally more of a broad overview recommendation style video. But the Galaxy Game on reread, really fun, because I knew to trust it. Like, I trusted it the first time, but this time I was really paying attention to details and connecting dots, and some revelations were still surprising to me. It's like, oh, I forgot about that. That's so cool. And it was only heightened because I knew I would get to talk to Karen, and we had our interview, which is live on the channel. It's really fun, and I could just geek out as a fan and be like, but wait, what was the inspiration behind this and this? Because there's so much where I'm just like, but how did you do that, and why, and how do I only know this much? And I finally kind of understand wall running, which has been driving me bonkers because it looks so cool. And I love how it's inspired by cricket. If you want to know nuggets, like that interview is so fun for me as a fan of these works. So the Galaxy Game is also, I think, really more impactful when you have the Blue Beautiful World, for reasons. I won't really go into either of these plot synopses. They are the second and third book in an overarching world, but I've talked about the Galaxy Game before, where it's discussing in this universe what happens when there's this huge power vacuum that gets to be formed, and you get to kind of follow it through the lens of these young adults who really don't know what's going on. They're just trying to be young adults, and you have some other perspectives that give you, like, insight. And these young adults also end up in the path of being able to have some agency and say in how things play out. It's just fun to explore these worlds. It's just really fun. I have a good time. Blue Beautiful World is about first contact with aliens on Earth. Earth has been a part of this whole series, and so they are finally going to be told about these other people that we've been seeing in the other two books in the series, and how do they integrate themselves into that. And this is also a multi-perspective narrative about what Earth tries to do to become a part of that. Yeah, I like both of them. I do think that Blue Beautiful World will become better for me on reread, just like the Galaxy Game did. The rereadability of this series, fantastic, phenomenal. So if you want more details, I have a long should you read. I have a very wonderful interview with the author. Go for it. I feel like I've talked about those books so much this week on my channel, so we probably don't need more. And then I read The Rook and the Rose trilogy. I finished it. I finished the trilogy. There will be a should you read for this probably next month. I'm also interviewing that author duo, so I might try to coordinate that closer to that interview. But needless to say, if you are a fan of Rook and the Rose, you're going to be a fan of this book. I don't know if it'll be your favorite or anything like that. I can't tell. I think it depends on you as a reader. But I had a great time. I was savoring it. And it had so many great moments. This was so many books in one book. Like, when I got to the end, because it took me a week and a half to read it, maybe longer, because I went out home for vacation, and I was just letting myself read it when I wanted to, and when I was reading it, I was having such a good time. The audiobook is also awesome. I was immersed reading it with the audiobook. Once I got into the audiobook, I really couldn't stop. It was very similar to Chorus of Dragons for me, where it was just became like, well, those are the voices of the characters now. I would like you over here. So really liked that. I had such a good time on my reread of Liar's Knot. I mean, you saw in some Fridays reads how some of those scenes just really landed for me. And then just like the follow through on character connections and interactions and communication and how they handled stumbling blocks in that last book was so good. It was so good. And the revelations, and it was so fun, and there were so many moments where like, yes, I wanted this, and it was really good. I had a really fun time. I'm just a fan. I'm excited to have, I own all these on audiobook. I don't own many audiobooks, but I had Audible credits, so I bought these. I probably wouldn't have owned them otherwise, although I don't think my library has the third one yet. Regardless, perfect for rereads, and I still need to get my physical copy of Labyrinth's Heart, but I need to, I think, order it, because they only have like a beat up one in the store, and I'm picky. I can't have the spine looking ugly. Not next to these beautiful ones. So that's Rook and the Rose. I'll have more thoughts in the future that are less, I loved it, because, you know, I loved it. It was great. What was interesting, so the last book I'll talk about is Untethered Sky by Fonda Lee, which I did not think I would get to this month. I truly didn't. But then, so I'm used to, in Rook and Rose books, at the end of certain parts, things happening that stress me out. Like, it's just like a thing. It's like mini cliffhangers within the book. Like I said, it's like there's like 3 books within one in Labyrinth's Heart. And we were getting to the end of part 2, and I'm like, I can't listen to this at work. I need this to have my full attention. It can't be my commute work audiobook right now. So I need a different audiobook. And I had the audiobook for Untethered Sky. It's the same narrator, which is great. But it was just, I was listening to it, I was like, I feel like I've been listening to her already. And I looked it up, and it's the same narrator. All right, but this book by Fonda Lee, what did I think? I think I'm glad that I watched a bunch of reviews, because I've truly had good expectations about the type of story this would be, and I actually think it's the appropriate story for novella space. This kind of quiet story, almost, of this person reflecting on their time as a rooker, and the people she meets, and the relationship with her rook, and the jealousy that can ensue with different career trajectories. It was, I think I listened to it across 2 days, and it was oddly quiet, and I enjoyed my time in that space and watching these interactions. And I'm a big interaction person, right? Like, I love watching interactions. And although I wouldn't say this is like my favorite novella all time, or that it's going to stick with me, what does stick with me are there these basically 3 central characters and their rooks, and how they came in and out of each other's lives and how they affected each other. I don't know. And then there's this scene at the end of the book that I thought really landed for me. Like, the ending of this book, if you've read it, you know, it's just, it was impactful. I felt like I had emotional payoff because of how well I knew this character, their hopes, their dreams, what they valued. It worked really well for me, and I thought the action scenes were done well, which not surprising because it's Fonda Lee. There are like a million action scenes. It's, like I said, primarily a fairly quiet novella, and yeah, it was nice. So those are the things. I kind of went through this faster than normal because I've talked about a lot of these in other videos on the channel, and because it's stupid hot. It's stupid hot in here, and I need to put my hair back up in a ponytail, like, now. I don't know why I can't film in a ponytail. I don't like how that looks when I edit, so this is dumb. It's all on me. This is all my fault. But I'm going to be done talking now. What did you read in August? If you just want to leave an emoji to let me know you're here. Oh, what have we not left? I guess a cat, even though that is my least favorite book of this month. By, like, such a long shot. I really didn't like that book. But let's just do a cat, because cats are cute. Although we did do, yeah, I'm committing. We're doing a cat. Let me know your hits, your misses for the month of August. And otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.